So what I'm doing here, we took the bigger package of Gonzi rags and we cut them up into more or less quarters, and then I pretty much just make them into smaller pads of wiping to wipe off stain. And it's a good method just to be prepared. That way you kind of save yourself time when you really need the time. Some of these are really small, can't really use them, but most of them are good. So again, you just kind of make your squares, and I got like a first wipe, second wipe, and third. But since we're going so dark, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be doing the third wipe at all. Okay, so I use a staining sponge. Don't worry about the stain on my hands. I typically do my staining that I need to do, and then from there I wash it off with lacquer thinner, and then right away I wash it off with soap and water. So typically I go right back to skin color pretty quick. Okay, so this is the back side. I'm just going to do the whole back side. Most of the back side is not seen, but because of the videoing, I'm just going to show you my technique on how I do it. So basically what I do is I'll do the back side first, flip it over, do the front face side, and then I do my edges last. So those are the easier to control, and it really works out well most of the time. So the odd circumstance I'll blend stuff in, but other than that, usually it's the two faces and then the edges. Okay, so systematically I'm just gonna, I usually don't go crossways like that because it has been known in the past that you can actually see those cross lines in your finish after your top coating is done. Something that like halos through, transparents through, it's going to be like that. So I usually typically go with the grain, and yeah, I'm pretty quick at it. I'll just start staining now and just kind of overhang it. Just let all the media flow through. When you come up to stuff like this, just be cautious. Okay. Now you want this to be wet when you wipe it off. Okay. You don't want it to be dry. You want it to be wet. So now since I wet the whole thing, now I can actually just go like this. Okay. It's just that first wipe. Just make sure that you're nice and wet, and you're going with the grain. Okay. Now I'm just gonna light pressure, just getting the majority part of it off. This is ebony, by the way. It's obviously quite dark. It's super dark brown. Flip it over. Kind of do the same wipe with the same rag, since I want it to be so dark. Nice straight lines. Okay, new rag. It looks a little dark, so again, I'm just using my steady pressure, just the weight of my hand in this case. Okay, so when it comes to something like this, on my last pass, I'll go back and forth, back and forth. Okay. Because usually your ends usually end up darker than the rest. Okay, and it evens things out a little bit. Okay, now you can open it up. This nice long. You can see some of the figure come through. Alright, see, not a lot left on my fourth pass. Most of it's already dried. It looks nice and consistent, and that's exactly what you want. Okay, so usually I go like this, punch like that, put it on my chest, flip it over like this. Now, this stain erases stain. Okay, so and you get this wet. Now when I do this, I want to make sure that I don't do the same thing and goes on the other side. So I'll be careful. Okay. Nice and wet. Be careful. Right here, right there, right there. Go into it like that. Okay. One thing about a sponge, you know, you can push a little bit more and it brings out more liquid. Okay, so now she's all wet. Nice and easy all the way around. Make it nice and wet. Okay? You don't want it evaporating and drying prematurely, especially when you come into other lighter colors. You're going to see more. Okay? Now since it's almost saturated here, I'm just going to go and this nice light pat. Oh, my light's going to kill me out of this other shirt. So you got to be careful. This stain does go everywhere, you know. And you usually don't want hanging shirts and all that kind of stuff. Normally I wear most of the shirts for just that reason. Okay, so I'll grab another one, a brand new one. You can go back and forth like that. And trust me, this method works great. Makes everything all nice and even. Okay, I'm just going to flip it over. Okay, I'm just going to open it up. Back and forth, nice and just grazing my hand across there. Okay, nice and even. Okay, she looks pretty good. Okay, looks good. Yeah, looks good. Alright. Okay, so now, pretty much this is all wet here, so I'm just going to use the edge of the rag instead of a saturated sponge. And I'm just going to, right center pressure, just kind of get that edge, keep that edge. I don't want to get anything on the face. Okay. Okay, and just move across there, work a couple of times. Alright, so now if you don't like it, now's the time to change it. Alright. Okay, that's good. Now I'll do the same thing with this side. Okay. Oops. Looks nice. That looks good. Yeah, that looks very good. All right. That completes our staining process. As mentioned, we got both sides finished already. Just gonna double check this here, make sure no stains leaked underneath here. We're doing absolutely great. All right, so yeah, next thing we do is the finishing process, and we'll seal this up, and then we'll We'll wait for it to dry, and then we'll scuff sand it with a sponge and hit our top coats, and all be done. And tomorrow's install. So yeah, stay tuned.